What's up YouTube? Capital G here talking about DDDs and why it is such a damn shame that Konami decided to do this deck so dirty like they did. Now generally when I think of an archetype getting screwed over, there's a couple of ways that it can happen. First, and this happens a lot, would be, if an archetype gets more support and the support just isn't as competitive and isn't as good as you would hope hope it would be. And that happens pretty often. That one is really kind of forgivable. Second would be if Konami decides to rarity bump a lot of the key cards in an archetype when it's being released. That happens pretty often, and that one's not really, that one's just kind of what it is. It's expected at this point. Then there's kind of like the unforgivable, kind of what happened with Necros last year in the Secret Forces. That's when Konami short prints cards and they kind of mess with the pull ratios. They did that with like the Necros of Brionac and the Necros of Valkyris. They basically like doubled the pull ratios of like the Ritual Beast cards, and the Necros cards all became super expensive coming out of that set. And we had the Necros of Brionac being like $150 to $180. So that one is kind of like F you Konami, seriously, don't do that anymore, because that's definitely some shady shit. But what's happening with DDDs is I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. This is definitely strange. I think this is a first, because DDDs essentially are a tier 1 archetype, but we can't really play them in the TCG at full strength because they're completely fractured. We don't have all the cards, and the product that is supposed to get us the cards, their structure deck, Pendulum Domination, we literally have no idea when the hell that is going to be released. Not only does that have reprints of, or does it have imports of some of the cards that we need, but it also has new cards like Siegfried, which is pretty much imperative to the deck because he's your legendary 6 Samurai Sheen. He's the reason that you don't have to worry about getting Rageki'd or like Twin Twisted or stuff like that, because he can just negate things like that. He can also negate your own contract so that you don't burn yourself to death. And I think that the reason that this happened is it makes sense, but it's also still kind of fucked up, and it's actually kind of silly. I think that this deck got screwed over, or I think that DDDs got screwed over because of the Dark Side of Dimensions movie, which it doesn't really make a lot of sense when you think about it, because if you look at the second half of the year, how much Konami and the TCG is pushing Dark Side of Dimensions, a movie that's not even coming out this year. That's why it doesn't make sense. We're getting obviously the movie booster sets, or the movie booster pack. We're getting Seto Kaiba and the Yugimoto structure deck. We're also getting Dark Illusion, which is a Dark Magician set, and we also got Shining Victories just recently, which is a Blue Eye set. So clearly they're pushing a lot of stuff for the movie, but this deck, or the Pendulum Domination, that product essentially got pushed, I guess, to next year. Who knows at this point, because of the 2 structure decks that are going to be released. Now don't get me wrong, I really do want the Kaiba structure deck because ABC Dragon is the fucking shit. That stuff is really OP. But is it really fair that DDDs got the shaft? Because now we have an archetype that you can't really play on like a highly competitive level, but we know it's tier 1. Like, guys, if you don't believe me, just look at the OCG. I know that some of the decks in the OCG got hit, but I've even played like Monarchs 100% full TCG, and I played them against DDDs, and if DDDs go first, they can easily like tear Monarchs a new asshole consistently, because this deck can like put the craziest board. You guys have seen some of my DDD replays with like Edon Collation or Grand Shabadungo playing. Like, this deck goes off a lot, and because it's actually gotten more draw support. When DDDs had these cards but it didn't have the draw support, it was kind of hit and miss. You know what I mean? Sometimes like how Karakuri could be. But now that you've got like multiple allures and Pot of Desires, the deck pretty much doesn't brick anymore. You know what I mean? Because Covenant is at 3. This is the Dark Gate, or I guess it's Contract in the TCG. I think it's Contract in the TCG. This is basically Rota for the entire archetype. You've got cards like 1 for 1 or 1 for 1, and Where Art Thou, that also get you your key pieces. And it really does feel like this is one of the most consistent decks in the game. And when the deck goes off, generally it's going to drop a minimum of Crystal Wing plus Siegfried on the board. So basically you're not using monster effects and you're not using Speller Traps. So if you don't have like Kaijus, you're basically SOL at that point. And it does run enough defensive cards to make sure that you can't get over those monsters, or if you somehow get over those monsters, that you're still in a bad position, or that if those monsters effects get baited, they still have defensive cards, things like Ghost Ogre Snow Rabbit, Contract with the Witch, and then you've got Vanity's Emptiness to just lock out everything. And furthermore proof of this, Japan just had its WCQs, and 3 of the 4 top decks were actually DDDs. So DDDs is extremely well. It's 3 DDDs and ABC Dragons, but I feel really bad for like fans of the deck, for fans of Reggie, because if you guys don't know, maybe you don't keep up with the anime, one of the main characters of the anime, his name is Reggie. He's actually a lot like Kaiba, to be honest. He's just not quite as much of an asshole as Kaiba is, but he's very similar to Kaiba. This is his archetype, and he's very, very good on the show. Arguably, he's the best player on the entire anime from what I've seen anyways. And the deck is incredible, but we just have no idea when the fuck we'll be able to play these cards, so it makes it difficult to A, have any interest in the deck, and B, wonder when we should start picking this stuff up. And also, it just seems weird because Konami was kind of like, they were kind of stringing us along, they were releasing these cards, and then they just completely stopped, and it's like, wait, what? Where's the payoff? Where are the rest of the cards at? Oh wait, we don't know when this product is going to be released. And I just can't think of another time throughout Yu-Gi-Oh! When we literally had a hard date for, I'm not sure if Pendulum Domination had a hard date. I know it was supposed to be released this year. I want to say it was supposed to be either July, like now, or it was supposed to be in like August, September, like the fallish. But it was definitely supposed to be released this year, and then something else kind of bumped it out of the way, and now we have no idea when that's coming out. And I say that because, you know, obviously all decks have a shelf life, you know what I mean? If decks don't get a ton of new cards, you know, they're all kind of, the competitive ones, you know, they're essentially supposed to be good during the time that they're released. And when I'm afraid that's going to happen to DDDs potentially is they're going to be really, really amazing in Japan because they've got all their cards and they've got the new cards that help them draw a bunch, like Pot of Desires. And then maybe when they finally arrive in the TCG, it's going to be like, oh, well, you know, now they've been power creeped. Now we've already got this other new TCG archetype that's going to be releasing almost simultaneously that can blow them out of the water or something like that. You know, we see this happen all the time. Like this happened with Chronomalies, where Nibradis was amazing in the combos. The deck was like really, really good in Japan. In fact, I think they ended up limiting Nibradis to like 1, and then Konami just dragged their feet and they dragged their feet and they fucking dragged their feet. And then when the deck finally came to the TCG, it was like, oh, okay, it's just okay, you know what I mean? It's got some combos, but it's not nearly what it is. It's not nearly as broken as it was in the OCG. So we never really get to play the deck like when it was intended to be played. You know, trains are dangerously close to being on that type of to being in that situation too, where it's like, you know, Konami's gonna finally release trains. Hopefully they come out in Dark Illusion, but you know, if they push them back any further, by the time they come out, they won't really be that relevant anymore. So, man, if you're a DDD fan, I feel for you, because I think that like the earliest that Pendulum Domination can even come out would probably be around February, because Konami has had a record of releasing structure decks very early in the year. Like Emperor Darkness came out last week of January. I want to say the Master Hero structure deck also had a January release too. So Konami does have a good record of releasing structure decks in like late January. So I'm hoping that's the release date for Pendulum Domination. I just think that it would be way more like reassuring if they would at least even talk about it. Because if you were just a casual player and you didn't even know about Pendulum Domination, I mean, you wouldn't even know the damn thing existed, because if you go on their website, there's literally no track record of it. You would not know that Pendulum Domination was a thing because it's not even on the website. I mean, come on. I guess maybe they don't want to advertise it too early. They want to be able to sell products like this and have a little bit of hype for that. But I don't know, man. I think it's really unfortunate. We were supposed to be basically right about playing these DDDs now. It will be another like tier 1 deck, because I promise you this deck can definitely compete with like Monarchs and PK Fire and stuff like that. But who the hell knows when we're going to play it? Hopefully it'll be January. Anyways, thank you guys for watching as always. I just wanted to shed some light on this because it's kind of fucked up how DDD's got the shaft for Dark Side of Dimensions, and that movie's not even coming out this year in the TCG. It's like, it's not even coming out in America this year. It's not even coming out until next year. So anyways, thank you guys for watching as always.